Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Small Biz Better Summit. So happy to have you all here for the summit celebration. It has been an amazing 2 days of an amazing content, amazing speakers, and man, oh man, have your questions been, have your questions been rolling in. So we have myself and Mr. Tommy Jones here for your live Q&A. So if there's any questions that come about, and I'll repeat this throughout, and I'll repeat this throughout the session. But if if you have any questions while we are speaking live, go ahead and enter them in the chat. You won't be able to see them, but we can see them on our end, and we're going to moderate them and ask as many as we can get through in the time that we have today. And so, yeah, how was the summit so far? 2 full days of Let's Talk About Money, 5 speakers, 8 sessions. Wow. The questions have been great. The interaction has been great. We thank you so much for your participation. And right now, just want to reintroduce everyone to the amazing Mr. Tommy Jones, who gave a session early today. How you doing today, sir?
Man, I am great, and I'm excited to be here with you, Marcus.
Awesome, man. So glad to have you. So glad to have everyone joining us again from all over the world. We've reached all corners of the world in this presentation, from Australia to India, United Kingdom, all over the U.S., Canada. Wow! So thank you all for joining us everywhere you are. And again, throughout the session, go ahead and enter your questions in the Q&A box. You won't be able to see them on your end. We can see them on our end, though, and that's what we'll be using to moderate any additional questions that come in addition to the ones that we received throughout the day. And if you could, well, actually, when you give the question, it'll show your name as well. I was going to say if you could say your name, but it'll actually show us your name when you do submit the question. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right on in, shall we? And with that, let's jump into our first question. And I think this is more of yours, Mr. Tommy. So the question is, it's from Anonymous, which is okay. The question is, do you have tips on setting budgets?
Yes. One of the things that I would say when it comes to setting a budget is that you should only invest in things that you need right now. A lot of times in Marcus, when we open a new business, we want to get everything. We want to like I was coaching a client, and she was opening a mental health consulting firm, and she was so impressed by wanting to get office furniture, and she wanted the latest desk, and she wanted, all of this fancy equipment, copy machines and all that. And I said, you need to allow your business to dictate your growth, and you need what you need right now. So what I had her do, instead of going out and buying or renting office space, I had her, as clients would book appointments, I would have her go to an office and rent office space for that day. So she would only have expenses incurred as her business grew. So you want to keep your fixed expenses as low as possible in the beginning.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I guess it would help if I unmute myself. Awesome sauce. Thank you, Tommy, on setting a budget. We have another question. This is from Elise, if I pronounce your name correctly. And this question, when you talk about sales and marketing, I thought the two were the same thing, but it sounds like they are different. Can you explain? And yeah. I guess that's a question for both of us. Go ahead, Tommy.
Okay. My definition of sales is that after you've already verified and vetted out a client that they actually, what you have, they need, and they also fit your profile. So at that point, it's a conversion. So they went from being a prospect to now you verified that they have the capacity. Let's use real estate. So if someone is wanting to buy a home, they have to have the credit, the income, and the down payment. So in your marketing, you market to people to find people that can actually become a client. So once you've determined that they have the capacity to move to the next phase, that's when the sales aspect of your product comes into play. So marketing is how you bring attention to the product, or how you bring attention to the, hey, I'm in this space, I'm in this marketplace, I would love the opportunity to do business with you. So there is a difference, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I really would echo kind of the same thing that Tommy said. I look at sales and marketing, kind of two sides of the same coin. Marketing brings them in, sales closes. And of course, there are transitional skills in each. And that's one reason we have several speakers here this summit, for this 2-day summit. Some of us are covering marketing, like myself, and some, like Tommy, covering the sales and the budgeting and some of the other money management pieces as well. So yeah, you do need both. And I would probably consider them two separate pieces, but they are two adjoining pieces. Like I said, two sides of the same coin. A coin would be very lonely if it just had one side. So yeah, two sides of the same coin. Thank you so much for asking that question, Elise, if I pronounced your name correctly. Awesome, awesome. And this question comes from Kareen. Excuse me. Kareen says, how do we focus on the hidden parts of marketing when we have so many visible things to work on as an entrepreneur? Awesome, awesome. How do we focus on the hidden parts of marketing when we have so many visible things to work on as an entrepreneur? So great question. I'll chime in here a little bit. Excuse me. So one thing that we mentioned in today's and yesterday's marketing presentation is, yes, most of marketing is that piece that's underneath the iceberg, so to speak. So the iceberg, you see the top 5% of, excuse me. The iceberg, you see the top 5% of the iceberg that sits above the water, but the part that's holding up that 5% of the iceberg that's above the water is that 95% of the iceberg that's beneath the water that you don't see. But without that 95%, you wouldn't be able to even see that 5% of the iceberg above the water. Same thing with the marketing. So we talked about all the visible aspects of marketing, your logo, your website, your social media, your likes and follows, all those fun things that we're so used to focusing on in marketing. Are only that 5%. What holds up that 5% is the 95% underneath that you do not see, and that most never see, and that most don't think about. Your strategy, your systems, your mindset, the mindset of your customers, the customer journey, the psychographics as opposed to the demographics, the psychographics being their mindset and how they think. And so you're right. It can be hard to find time as a busy entrepreneur because we have a million things running at us at the same time. All of them are top priority. All of them need to be done yesterday, right? And we have all of these competing priorities. One thing we talked about in the session to help you counterbalance that is, don't try to find time in your schedule to do these things that are not as well known, creating your vision, making sure you create your customer journeys and all those other things, but actually make time, schedule time in your daily schedule, in your weekly schedule, in your quarterly schedule to make sure you have time set aside specifically for strategy development, specifically for growth of your business, specifically on how we can market to new channels, promote to new channels, recruit new users, engage current users and current customers. All of this has to be very intentional and create dedicated time to do that. So we recommend at least daily you have some time set aside just for strategy, even if it's just 30 minutes a day. Plan in your day some time for strategy, and every quarter, a minimum of every quarter, plan like a larger quarterly strategic meeting with yourself, your other C-level managers, executive suite managers, because that is really what's going to help you navigate throughout the rest of that quarter, the rest of the year, and your long-term goals as well, without putting time in specifically for strategic planning and management. You are really just doing what we call the spray and pray method. You're spraying the market and just praying something lands. And that can be very expensive, very costly, and very time consuming as well. So put dedicated time into your schedule on a regular basis, specifically for scheduling. Tom, do you have anything to add to that one as well?
I mean, I would concur 100% that you have to be extremely intentional, Marcus, and that and you have to focus on only that what you can control and what you can deal with your limited budget and your limited time. So I concur.
Awesome sauce. All right. So this question comes from Brighton. So Brighton, if Brighton asks, if we know we want to take the leap, how do we go about preparing in our current job to take the, okay. So Brighton is asking if we know we want to take the leap from being an entrepreneur or being an employee to an entrepreneur, how do we go about preparing in our current job to take that leap? Great question. Tom, you got any thoughts? Or
Sure.
do you want me to start?
What I would say to Brighton first and foremost, Marcus, is that I would work my the moment you decide that you want to become an entrepreneur, your job is no longer your job. Your job becomes your investor. Your job becomes one of the primary sources that fuels the engine for your business. So I would look for ways that I could continue working my job as long as I could until I got my business up and running where it could sustain me and replace my income. That's the first thing I would do. Second thing I would do is I would make sure that I have a solid business plan. I would make sure that I have a blueprint of what it is I want to do, because once you step out, it may be hard to go back to that industry or that particular job once that door is closed.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Echo that. Echo that almost verbatim. I think it's and I love the way you phrased it. Once you decide you want to become an entrepreneur, your job is no longer your job. Your job is your investor. I love that mindset, and that something that we've taught, that every speaker in the summit has discussed and mentioned, is mindset and shifts in mindset. So I love that it also starts with an M. Many people are focused on the money and the money, but remember, the money is a result. What are the things that lead to that result? The money is part of that 5% of the iceberg that we see. What's underneath it that supports that? And it's mindset. And what the mindset shift that you just said there, I think says it all. So I love that perspective, looking at your job as your investor. Once you decide that you do want to take that leap, that you do want to become an entrepreneur, a small business owner, because that's their role. Their role simply changes. They're now your investor. You still want to put in 100% there at your investor opportunity, as well as now you're putting in 100% into the opportunity that you are developing, that you are starting. And so I love that mindset shift. Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. Okay. Up next, we have a marketing question from Nikki. And Nikki asks, how do we become aware of the hidden parts of marketing when we can't see them or don't know they're there because they're hidden? How do we? Okay, excellent. So the question Nikki's asking, how do you become aware of hidden parts of marketing when we can't see them or don't know they're there because they're hidden? Very good question. So this sounds like it's referring a lot to the iceberg that we talked about in the marketing session, where we talked about 95% of that iceberg you never see what's below the water, but that 95% is holding up what you see that's above the water, that 5% that you do see. And yeah, it's a little tricky. How do I prepare? How do I work on something that I don't even know that's there? And I think the one thing I want to highlight is, you're asking, how do we become aware of those hidden parts of marketing? You're doing it right now. You're attending the summit. You are investing your time, your energy into learning more, into learning what is it that I don't know that I don't know. And that's always an area that is so challenging for entrepreneurs, because if we don't know what we don't know, a lot of times we don't know the things that we either should be aware of, things that could be a problem, things that could be an opportunity. And this just helps create that awareness. So continue your education, continue surrounding yourself with people that are similar in this summit. Continue surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are also looking to enrich themselves, looking to continue to grow and expand their minds, continue to grow and expand their education as well. That way, as you learn something, you can now put that into your mental Rolodex and always refer to it later if it's something that isn't relevant right then and there. One of my mentors told me there's 4 stages of consciousness. And the first stage of consciousness is what they call unconscious incompetence, which just in layman's terms means you don't know what you don't know. And I was like, yeah, and that is always going to be the widest part of consciousness. There will always be more that you didn't know, that you didn't even know, than even more than you know that what you didn't know, right? Which is the next stage. You know what you don't know, and then you know what you know, and then the final stage is just when it becomes part of you, like it's a habit. You do it without thinking. Think of that as like when you're going to work or when you get in the car driving and you automatically start driving somewhere that you're not meaning to drive, but you're just so used to driving and so used to, you know, turning at this particular turn that you do it on autopilot, right? And so that first stage of consciousness, you don't know what you don't know. It's always going to be the biggest part for the rest of your lives, for the rest of humanity. But you're doing it right now by engaging in this summit, by engaging in other webinars, in other, by engaging in web. Oh, you can't hear me? Oh, no. Oh, can anyone hear me? Is it just Tommy? Can you hear me now? Oh, that's not good. Uh-huh. Well, if anyone else can hear me, let me know in the chat. Okay. Okay, wait a minute. We got a lot of people saying they can hear me. Can you hear me now, Tommy? Try talking. Oh, Tommy, okay, so maybe he's, I think Tommy's going to try and rejoin us. I think maybe his connection was bad or so, but it looks like the rest of you can hear me, so I'll continue with what I was saying. But you're doing it right now. You are, when you ask, how do you find out about these hidden aspects of marketing and hidden aspects of business, hidden aspects of sales, all of these things, you are doing it right now by attending this summit, by investing your time, energy, money into things like this summit, into your education. And education doesn't necessarily have to be the traditional education like going to college and things of that sort, although it's not that we don't recommend not going to college, but that's not necessarily what we're talking about here. We're talking about things that, you know, attending these summits, attending webinars, attending meetings. These are some of the things that can really help you just understand some things that you don't know that you don't know. There's probably several things in your community, especially if you're in a large city. If you're in a larger US city, there's definitely a lot. But even if you're not, that's one reason we host these online summits, so that we can reach people who don't have resources in their city about small business development, small business planning, anything small business, right? And so I think Tommy has joined us again. So I'm going to activate his AV and hopefully he can join us live again. And there he goes. Can you hear us now, Tommy?
I hear you. I don't know what happened. You just froze and then it went mute.
Okay, well, glad you're back with us. I've been keeping everybody company for a little while. I think they were like, wait, we want to hear Tommy too. And so awesome sauce. But so Nikki, great question. Thank you so much for asking. You are doing it right now. You are actually doing the exact thing on how to find out what you don't know that you don't know, how to at least become aware. And now you can start to choose, what do I want to work on? What is important for me to work on right now? And what can wait till later? So great question. And Tommy, I don't know, did you want to add anything to that one or?
Yeah, so to piggyback on what you're saying, Marcus, I agree with the strategy 100%, because what I would say to Nikki is that the more knowledge you get, the more you're able to prioritize what's important, what moves the needle in your business, and you're able to maximize the impact of the dollars that you have. So I agree.
Awesome sauce. All right, this question comes from Anonymous, looks like. And the question is, how do you start the initial, okay, so if you I'm currently not in business. I want to start. How do I get the initial start? How do I get the initial investment to start the business when, okay, yeah, how do I get my initial investment to start my business? I'm not currently in business. How do I get my initial investment to start my business? Okay, cool beans.
Well, Marcus,
Any,
what I would say to Anonymous is that your initial investment needs to be knowledge. It needs to be the research of the business, because you need to understand the viability of how much education, how much revenue. I mean, not revenue, but income that you're going to need to start the business. So what I would do, I would look for my blueprint. I would look for somebody that's already doing that, what I want to do. And because you don't have money, I would look to volunteer. I would look to find out as much as I can about that business before I make a decision to go into that business.
good stuff. Good stuff. I love that addition. Awesome sauce. Let's see. Other question we have. This one comes from Brisa and Jason. Do you recommend that you fully understand how to use certain software that will help us level up my biz before you invest in it? Okay. Do you recommend that you fully understand how to use certain software that will help us level up our business before you invest in it? Okay, great question. Great question. So this is one thing we talked about in the marketing session was the iceberg. So remember that iceberg, and it came up earlier in the Q&A too. Remember that iceberg, the 5% that you see and the 95% that you don't see, that's beneath the water. I wish I could have pulled up that. Actually, I can. I like this new software. All right. Can you see my slides, people on the webinar? Just give me a yes or a nod or something. And let me see if I can find the slide. Okay. All right. So, yes. So it looks like you guys can see the slides. Awesome. So look at where tools fall into place. And we get this question a lot. So I'm so glad you asked that, Brisa and Jason. Hey, I wonder if that's Brisa and Jason. I just actually came from a conference with Brisa and Jason. So I'm sure it's them because they listed it as one person, Brisa and Jason. So hi guys. So look at where tools fall into this iceberg, right? The tools are in the 5% of the iceberg that you do see. The 95% of that iceberg that you don't see, you might see systems there. And a lot of times people will mix up systems and tools. So systems aren't necessarily the technical systems that we're talking about. Systems are, think of systems like your processes, your SOPs, or your standard operating procedures. The only thing that the tool is going to do, whatever tool you get, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's email marketing tool. A lot of people ask us MailChimp or Aweber or Drip, and there's literally a million of them. People ask us about CRM or customer relationship management tools. Should we have Infusionsoft or ActiveCampaign or HubSpot and all these other great tools? We tell everybody the same thing. All these tools are great. All these tools are wonderful. And they're really all about the same. Give or take a couple of features here and there, or give or take a couple of pricing differences here and there. They're all about the same. But the tool is only going to be as effective as the standard operating procedures that you have that tool is designed to handle and or automate. So if you don't have the standard operating procedure to handle it, or the standard operating procedure or processes in your business, the tool isn't going to be nowhere near as effective as you want it to be. So we always recommend that people look at their systems as in their processes, not their technical systems, while they're considering different tools. Now, to get to the second part of your question, I'm biased because at my agency, we are always, and I do mean always, experimenting with different tools, looking at different tools, seeing what tools do things. This webinar system, for example, this conference system that we're on right now came from us doing some of that exploration hey, is this better than what we're currently using? Better than some other things that we're considering? And yeah, there's some pros and cons, but overall, yeah, we think it's better, and we're gonna start to implement it in some of our live sessions, right? And so always evaluating tools. Yes. Do you have to have a full understanding of the tool? No, not necessarily. The understanding of the tool is going to come with the use of the tool. So what the analogy we like to use is, a lot of times people want to get fully ready before they launch, or fully ready before they do something, or fully ready before they dive into something. And that can be especially dangerous for people who suffer from like analysis paralysis, like I used to. I will analysis paralysis the heck out of something until there is nothing to analyze and paralyze about, meaning that opportunity has gone and or passed. Right. So, in my case, one of my mentors recommended to me, instead of, you might have heard the terminology ready, aim, fire. He told me ready, fire, aim. And what that meant was get ready as best I can, take a shot, and then after taking that shot, then adjust based on that shot that I took, to help me with my analysis paralysis. You might not recall, but you might have learned in your history books, as I did, in 1969, the U.S. launched a shuttle to the moon, and we're not debating where it landed and stuff like that, but let's assume they landed. Let's assume they hit the target. How accurate would you have guessed that shuttle, the shuttle that took off to the moon, how accurate would you guess it was on a scale of 1 to 100% of how accurate was it in its trajectory to the moon? And most people will say, well, it had to be pretty accurate because it actually hit the moon, right? But in actuality, that shuttle was only 3% accurate in its trajectory to the moon. And people will ask, hey, how could it be 3% accurate and it's actually still hits or lands on the moon, right? You have one spinning object, the Earth, trying to hit another spinning object that's also rotating around that spinning object, and you were only 3% accurate and you're able to hit it. And the reason was because every time they took that step and then analyzed, okay, how are we doing? Oh, no, we're off track now. We need to adjust. They took another step and they adjusted. So that was why that was only 3% accurate, because every time they took another step or traveled another 100 feet, they would take an assessment. Where are we? And let's adjust accordingly. So same thing with your tools. You're going to experience a lot. Evaluate them, play around with them. But do you have to have a full understanding of them? We're tech geeks at my company, and we don't have a full understanding of any of the tools that we use, but it's a growing and exploratory process. So I give that advice to you as well. Don't think you have to be 100% before you get started. Just start. And remember, if you find out later that you made a wrong decision, there's no shame in, hey, we tried this, didn't work. Let's regroup, try something else, right? This one didn't work the way we thought. All right, maybe we should have went with their competitors. So let's try their competitors now. Great question. Any other thoughts on that, Tommy?
No, that is above my pay grade. That's why I have people like you in my life.
Love you, man. Love you, bro. Awesome sauce. All right. So more questions that we have. All right. This one. Oh, okay. No, this looks like a repeat from earlier. All right, cool. And so, yeah, that's a repeat. Next question we have, what would you say the top way is to grow your business? What's the top way to grow your business? All right, cool.
Well, when you say what is the top way to grow your business, I would say, would be referrals, or the most economical way would be, I'm going to put more into that question and assume, Marcus, they were saying maybe the most economical way, because we're talking about money management in this particular session. I would say through referrals, through your natural database. People do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So your first level would be your natural sphere, the people that you already know, and then they can extend your credibility, you can borrow their credibility to their sphere of people that they know. So I would say the quickest, most economical way to grow your business is starting with the people that you already know.
Awesome sauce. Great answer. Love that. And one thing I would add to it, and I think, Tommy, I think you hit it perfectly when you said it. Well, you had follow-up questions. You said, well, you set context for the question. You said, well, I'm going to assume we're talking about economically because that's what we're talking about in the summit, the theme of this month's summit. And I would say the same thing. It depends. It totally depends. If you're talking about from an economical standpoint, just like in Tommy's question, it depends on what's your industry. What are you, a full-time entrepreneur? Are you a parallelpreneur and you're working with your investor while you're starting your business? So there's so many questions to answer. And one of my mentors says this. He says a question well answered is a question well defined is already half answered. All right. So when we ask better questions, we get better answers. And so all that means is we define our questions even more. So when we're thinking of what's the top way to grow our business, well, let's look at that. What's the top way to grow my business in what industry, and ask us a whole bunch of other questions that'll help us narrow that down even more. And to Kami's question, I say the answer to a lot of that is exactly what you're saying. Let's start where we are familiar. If we look at like a target and we're working our way outside from the middle of that target, the next step outside of the middle of that, the core of that target, is the next ring. Think of the target icon, the store target icon. And if you step out from the bullseye, the next step, you step into a ring, and that can be your very close-knit circle of family and friends, right? And so I would always, what we say in business, start with your lower hanging fruit is always a good way. But I would challenge you, refine that question even more. And if you're live here now, go ahead and, well, this is from another anonymous. If you're live here now, right now, tell us what type of business are you in? Give us a little more, so maybe we can address that answer to you even better. All right. So, but yeah, the short answer is it depends. But I love the part of Tommy's question as well. Start with your inner circle. Start with those who you are most close to, or those low hanging fruits that you can easily assess, easily monetize within your vision, within your mission, and within your core values of your company and you as a business owner. Awesome sauce. Next question. Oh, and I don't know why I cannot read that. Okay, that's something on our end, but I can't read that. All right. You mentioned there, this is from Lisan. And Lisan asked, you mentioned ways to add value to other partners. How do you add value to other partners?
That's a great question. The way that you add value is that you find out what their needs are. You find out what they're needing to grow their business. You find out what their pain points are. A lot of times, like for example, when I talk about trading services, Marcus, like if Marcus is a tech guru and he's very good at the technical aspect of or helping me increase my digital presence, or helping me do more of a digital migration in that space, but he may have a weakness or an opportunity for growth in actual sales, or he needing help in writing scripts. So that's where I could come in and say, hey, I am very proficient in script writing. I am very proficient in the whole psychology of sales. Marcus, you're very good at getting the customers excited or introducing them to the product, but you struggle with being able to convert them. So we could trade services. So that's a strategic partnership that we could form, where there would have to be no currency passed, but we could barter with our skill sets.
Awesome sauce. Love that. All right. And up next, question from, oh, one thing I will add to that question, Lisan, how do you add value to your partners? Making sure you know where they need assistance that fits within your wheelhouse as well. So a lot of times, so in my digital marketing agency, one thing that we do with every client before we get started is we assess. We're imagine yourself in a mall. And the first thing you do a lot of times when you go to a new mall is you look for that banner that says, hey, that red dot, you are here. And then you try to plot where you're looking to go within that mall. So every new client we get, we always do our own assessments with them. Okay, this is where they are in relation to what we do, in relation to the business landscape and all those other great things. And this is where they're looking to go. How do we plot those courses? And along those lines, we see several areas that they need help. And so if I have a partnership with Tommy, for example, or partnership with Sean, who spoke earlier, or partnership with Susie, who also spoke earlier, partnership with all of these guys, which I do, areas that I see they need help, our client, that we don't solve as a business, I have these complementary partners everywhere. Tommy, Susie, Sean, who spoke earlier in this summit, that now we can also do business with them. I can refer them to somebody who I know, trust, that is going to do right by them and really take care of their needs, right? And so that's how to add value to partners as well. Some people call it JV partners or joint venture partners. And there's a whole bunch of different partnerships. And so that's another thing that you can do as well. Have partners that you can refer business to, have partners you can work with and sort of barter and horse trade like Tommy was talking about. There's a whole bunch of different aspects. We have partners as a part of the summit who also help us promote and get more people here to sign up and join in, right? And so, but make it easy. One thing I will say is make it easy for people to partner with you. So remember, those people you're looking to partner with, and they have busy lives too. They have families too. They have a lot of things going on too. So make it easy for them to partner with you. Make it easy for them to do whatever help that you want them to give you, or to give you whatever help you want them to give you. For example, our partners that we work with on the summit, we make sure that all the needs that they need in order to help promote the summit, that we take care of those as well for them, because they're doing us a favor by helping us to promote the summit. All right, so great question. All right, this question comes from Matthew. Matthew says, the 4-foot rule. Can you expound more on the 4-foot rule?
Yes, Matthew. Simply what I mean by the 4-foot rule is that when you're in sales and you have more dream than you have money, then anybody that comes within 4 feet of you, you find a reason to strike up a conversation and you infuse your business into the conversation. One of the things that I used to do all the time, Matthew, when I first got into real estate, is that I could be at a grocery store, I could be picking up my kids from school, I could be at a kid's soccer game, but I was always coming or going to an open house. You know, I would always find a way to bring up real estate, and inevitably what happened is that as I would bring it up, they would be like, oh, okay, you're in real estate. I said, yeah, I'm a mortgage banker, and this is a great time. Well, is it a good time to buy real estate or sell real estate? It's always a good time to buy or sell real estate. So when I say the 4-foot rule, when you're just getting started and you have more mouth than you have money to promote your business, you have to be your walking, talking billboard. So anybody that comes within your perimeter, they're fair game for you to tell them about your business, and come up with a creative, non-invasive way to talk about your business. And if they're not in the market for your business, Matthew, that's great. Ask them, who do they know that could use the amazing services that you provide?
Great. Love it. All right, we got a couple more minutes here, and I'm going to try, I'm going to try to fit in some more questions if possible. This question comes from Rim, and Rim asks, what do you mean by easy CTAs, or what qualifies as an easy CTA? Awesome. All right, so RIM is referring to when we were in the marketing session and when I said have an easy CTA, and CTA means call to action. So a call to action is anytime you want anybody to do something anytime, right? So a call to action online, just for a few examples, can be like this post, share this post, tag someone, comment on this post. It can be sign up to receive 10% off on X, Y, and Z. It could be sign up for our newsletter, but remember, we said in our talk, people don't want to sign up for your newsletter. So make sure your call to action is a lot more compelling. But that would be an example of a call to action. Just make sure that's not your call to action. So sign up to, same thing with email lists. People don't want another thing to do. So tell them exactly what they're getting by signing up on your email list. So sign up here or purchase here, right? That's all a call to action is. And and before I go further, remember another thing that we said in the presentation. Remember those that acronym CSTL, like we're seeing St. Louis, the letter C, STL, comment, share, tag, like. Remember, do not include those words in any of your social posts, especially on Facebook, because when they see it, they will see it as spam and automatically reduce the effectiveness of your post. Remember, Facebook says, hey, if it's like worthy, you don't have to tell them to like it. They'll automatically like it. That's Facebook's logic. Just like the example I gave. I'm a black man, right? I don't need to tell you that. You can see, hopefully, that, right? And so same thing on social media. So just a quick comment there. But when we're talking about easy CTAs, make sure it's a single, simple call to action. That way you're not saying, let's say you have an event that you want people to go to. Oh, perfect example. You have an event that you want people to sign up for. I see so many flyers that say, hey, if you want to come to this event, email this person or call them at this number or this number, and then they'll give some long behind URL at the bottom of the page that should have been shortened or condensed for the user, right? You've just given the user 4 call to actions, and now you've given them too many options. If there's someone like me that suffers from analysis paralysis, all in that time that you've been showing every other way I can contact you, I just got distracted by something else. I was just at a stoplight and now the stoplight's green. Oh, I'm going forward. And if you're like me, have you ever been doing something and then a second later you forgot what you were just doing? So this happens to me a lot. So a lot of times our biggest competition are our own customers' distractions and distractions in life, right? So you want to give them an easy call to action, something simple, something that they can do with minimal effort, and narrow it down to one. Don't give them an email, a phone number, 2 phone numbers to call, and a website. You narrow it down to one thing that they can do that's going to be the simplest for them based on where they're going to access your products and services. So for example, on our email campaigns for this summit, we include one clickable link on how to sign up for the summit. And that's the only call to action that we have with our partners and with ours, is just that clickable link. When we introduce this to a live group and they say, yeah, we want to join your session, and we know that this session is on live, so we'll in a live group, we might have another website for them that's specific to that live group that they can easily enter on their phones. That's easy to spell. There's no spelling confusions, etc. That they can enter right there and in there and get to the site to register, right? So we make sure that we do all the back end stuff so that the front end is as easy as possible for you, the consumer. So that's all we mean by call to action. You make it easy for them to do business with you. You take care of all the detail and everything else on the back end. If you don't, you run the risk of I love this phrase. You will never go broke overestimating the laziness of your customers. You will never go broke overestimating the laziness of your customers. So just assume everybody's lazy. And it's not necessarily that we're lazy. We just have a million other things to do. And some of us are lazy too. And so always make it super easy for them. And you as a business do all the stuff you need to do on the back end to make that easy for them as well. Tom, do you have anything to add?
I concur. Again, I mean, you're making this very easy because you're great. Yeah, I mean, I mean, when you give a call to action, you need to give them the results. You need to speak to the result. You know, as a result of you saying yes to this program, it's going to create clarity where there's been confusion. It's going to help cut down your processing time by over 50%. You need to make sure that you speak to the WIFA. What's in it for me? By me saying yes to you to get into partnership or to get into relationship with you in business, what do I get? You're going to see results in the next 30 days or in 90 days, you'll be able to blah, 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 So yes. So when you give the call to action, also speak to the results.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, and this question comes from, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I'm going to try, and please forgive me. Tyrina. So Tyrina asks, how do you, your Who Do You Know campaign, what do you mean by the Who Do You Know campaign?
Okay, so when you do a Who Do You Know campaign, it's another version of your, it's an extension of your natural database. So your Who Do You Know would be like, hey Marcus, I'm in real estate. Who do you know that would be interested in purchasing real estate for either for home ownership or for passive income? And then I would speak to the benefits, because, Marcus, as you know, there are tax benefits to owning multiple homes. It's a great way to grow your wealth. These things can be transferable. It can create benefits and establish legacies for years and years to come for not only your family, but for the people that you love. Who do you know would be interested in creating passive income? So it's another way to ask for help in your business.
Love that. Love that. Love that. One thing I want to add to that, the Who Do You Know campaign, it also provides a way. Well, have you ever been in a networking situation and somebody, you're talking with somebody, they tell you what they do. You're not at all interested, but there's always that awkward silence of, I guess I better ask for a card to break this awkward silence and get a reason to leave. I'm guessing you've experienced that too, Tommy. We're having real conversations today. So the Who Do You Know question is a great way of asking something at an angle, right? So if I'm talking to Tommy and I'm saying, hey, Tommy, yeah, we do digital marketing. We come from actually, I wouldn't give Tommy this pitch because this is a bad example, but this is actually what people will say. They often tell you what they do as opposed to the benefit they provide you. So when somebody's telling you what you do, for this example, Tommy, if I say, hey, yeah, we do digital marketing and we do great social media stuff, instead of that awkward silence or anything, I can always ask them, who do you know? And that way, that kind of lets him off the hook a little bit. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be him. It's like, oh, yeah, I know my cousin. They're doing stuff that needs digital marketing and stuff like that. And maybe I can give you a reference there, or maybe they know no one, but at least it lets them off the hook and lets that kind of gives them that opportunity for, all right, who do I know? Or, hey, wait, this person, I need those services. I need those right now. And going right along with that, one thing that Tommy said that I want to highlight as well is not so many people, and it's common in a networking situation, people are often asking, hey, how you doing? What's your name? And what do you do? They're not really asking, what do you do? Because they really want to know what you do. They're only asking, what do you do? Because they don't know what else to ask. And that's what everybody asks. What do you do? And then the biggest mistake people make is they actually tell them what they do. And for the most part, people don't care what you do. Just as Tommy said, they care about how's it going to benefit them, what's the benefit they're going to get from it. WIIFM, everybody's favorite radio station, like Tommy said, what's in it for me? Tell them the benefits you provide as a result of working with us. And I love how you phrase that as well, Tommy. As a result of working with our company, these are some of the benefits that you receive. He's not talking about the features, he's talking about the benefits. And that's another way to stand out. So when you combine all of this together, you combine the benefits of what you provide with the who do you know. Wow. People are blown away that, wow, I'm really interested in what they just said. Wait, you're going over there saying, who do I know? I know me. Help me. I need that. I want those benefits, right? So it's a really great way to package all of these different pieces together in one kind of networking tool that's really, really effective, and that a lot of people don't. It's something that they haven't seen, because most people are out there telling people what they really do, like people care. I laugh and I grin because I was at a networking session this morning, and I was bad. The guy was just talking, and I'm literally just thinking, like, I don't care about any of this. I was like, wow, actually, should I give him an invitation to our summit so he can really learn how to talk a little more about his benefit as opposed to the features he's providing? It was bad. I shouldn't have done that to him. In my mind, I didn't tell him this, but in my mind, I was really thinking about this. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, so focus on the benefits that you provide people as opposed to the features. People don't really care what you do. They care about the benefits that it's going to get them. They care about how it's going to affect their lives, make their lives easier, make their lives better. So I love that. Love that explanation from Tommy as well. And I see we have a couple of more questions, but we are out of time for this live Q&A session. Wow. Great questions from everyone. Great Small Biz Summit. Wow. Great Small Biz Summit. Great speakers. Great interaction from you guys and gals. Tommy, is your screen frozen or can you hear us? Oh, we might have lost Tommy again, but even if maybe he'll come back here in a second. But we really thank you so much for attending this Small Biz Summit. We're going to keep having these summits. Please continue to bring your questions, continue to bring your comments, continue to spread the word to others so that they know, hey, there is a place and is a resource that you can learn about small business from the comfort of your own home. And it looks like we did lose Tommy. Okay, so he'll probably join in here in a second. And we'll close out with him on the screen and to give any final words or final pieces of advice. But we really thank you. We really thank you so much for joining this summit. It's been a tremendous ride, this summit, talking about money. Let's talk about money. It's past time that we talk about money. So I'm so glad we were able to talk about money, the theme of this conference this time. All righty. Well, I guess while we wait for Tommy, we can address another one of these questions. See if he's able to grab a signal and log back on. And this question, so hi, you guys get a little bonus while we wait for Tommy. So this question is from Jacqueline, and Jacqueline asks, I'm developing a campaign on Facebook for my new business. I'm developing a campaign on Facebook for my new business, and I'm looking to get the greatest reach possible for the least amount of money. What do you recommend? Okay, so a great way to get a great reach with the least amount of money possible. One, and I know it sounds counterintuitive, who are you looking to reach? Let's define them. Let's define them in detail. Who are you looking to reach? Let's give him or her a name. I'm looking to reach Bob. Bob is a male, is a Caucasian male. He's age 45. He makes $65,000 a year. He has 3 kids. Let's define the people we're trying to reach. That way we know how to cut through all the noise on social media, and we're able to reach them better and reach them more directly. All right, so that's the first thing to increase your reach. Also, another thing we want to do is leverage, similar to what we were talking about before, those people who are close by and who believe in your vision, who maybe people you've worked with or volunteered with. If you're starting a new business and you don't have clients yet, people who you've done services for that are similar, maybe they can provide some sort of endorsement or commentary on your products and services, and also help you spread the word about, hey, we're looking to do this. Can you also invite your people on your list to this event? Just make sure you do all those things responsibly. You want to make sure that you're being responsible with your type of promotion, and you're being ethical with your type of promotion as well. But that's another way to leverage those people who are around you and leverage people who are close to you. All right, so start small. You're not going to reach the world on your first post, not even on your first 10 or first 100 posts. Always remember, start small and always build on your successes. So I don't care if your post reached 10 people. That's 10 more people than who had previously seen your post prior, right? So I think it's interesting how a lot of times we look for these big numbers on social media. We're like, oh, I can't believe this post only reached 10 people. But this post, that means that post, if 10 people like that post, then 10 lives were affected by your commentary. 10 lives were possibly impacted and changed by your commentary. If there was, God forbid, if there was an accident that 10 people were hurt or killed near you in your city, it'd be all over the news, right? So we often minimize the effect, kind of when it's in that big kind of a big fish bowl, if you will. We minimize the effect of even having effect on a few small people, but we want to really call attention to that. Be appreciative and be attentive and be thankful and grateful for those 10 people that you reach, because it's with those 10 people that those 10 people, if each one of those people just talked to one other person and got one other person to join, your next session will be 20, your next session 40, and of course exponential growth from there. And that's assuming that you did no additional promotion, right? So always build on your successes. So build on your success and leverage those people who can help promote on your behalf, so you're not doing everything yourself. And with that, I see Tom is still not with us, so I guess his signal may have dropped. Looks like he was traveling, but we want to thank you so much for joining day 2 of the Small Biz Summit, and for joining the Small Biz Summit, this Let's Talk About Money edition, because this is the last session of this summit. So thank you all so much for joining. We have enjoyed you tremendously. Just thank you for the questions, the comments, the engagement, your livelihood, and thank you for everything that you've given on this summit. It has been an amazing time, an amazing ride. We look forward to bringing you more summits. We have several of the speakers said, hey, yeah, I want to attend and speak at a future summit. So you'll be seeing many of the speakers again. So thank you all so very much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you on a future summit. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues, have them also sign up for the Small Biz Better Summit, because we are really on a mission to help small businesses do, be, live, give better. Until next time.